It is 6:01, and I'm calling the August 7th Funding Committee meeting to session. We, as a matter of record, we have committee members present: Denisha Ramsey, Scott Staples, Philip Partain, Jim Irwin. And we have committee members, council members, Butch Higginbotham, Jack Mosley, Tom Martin, and myself. Honorable Mayor Treat. Couldn't make it happen without Jordan Reynolds and other city people.
Hey, Tyler.
Taylor. And police chief and fire chief. We're happy to have you. Oh, and Rebecca, you keep sitting in the back.
Oh,
We can't function without Rebecca.
you cannot forget her.
She's very valuable.
Got some really, you have a really good presentation this month at council.
Oh, good.
She's gonna give you a free entry when you're done.
So with that, I would entertain a motion for the awesome minutes that Jordan whipped up. Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Second by John, all opposed? All right, public comments? I'm seeing none. New business, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I've got you a nice, presentation, just one page, that was attached, one page. So, no, I created this. I didn't ask Jordan to do it. As you all know, right, as our police and fire, city grows and police and fire coverage grows, so does the pressure on our, sales tax that pays for, by state law, our police and fire pension year to year. So as we've kind of talked about ways to diversify the city's revenue, again, we're mostly very dependent on sales tax. One of our options is property tax that goes to police and fire pension. So I just kind of want to walk you through, show you the numbers, and then we can dive into details. There on the far left, you see right now, this is kind of the general fund cost year to year. The last 3 years going towards to pension out of general fund. So that 3%, that 3-cent sales tax, it covers those. State law requires that we invest in that. Of course, we're happy to. Other cities that have adopted property tax to go towards police and fire pension, El Dorado does this, Texarkana. Benton does 1 mil for fire, but not for police. So state law allows, per voter approval, it's possible for council can raise property tax, okay? But it can't be designated for pension. If you're going to do this, 2 mils, it has to go to a vote of the people, and then it can only be spent on the police and fire pension. This is ballparking. We ballparked that it would bring in about $800,000 if 1 mil for each was passed, and that's the max. If we decided, if we felt like this was a good idea, and we get good feedback, to put this on the March primary ballot, it would be passed. The ordinance that's included in your packet would need to be passed by December council. So we've got some time to kind of test the waters and see if this would be something we felt like would pass. Cost per resident, we took the average home value in the city of Bryant, $237,000. That's $7.11 a month increase is what we'd be asking the taxpayers for. So we would be, if that passed in March, the money wouldn't start coming in until 2027. Okay, but in 2027, obviously that's $800,000 of revenue that now has been cleared up out of the general fund. The money that was going to pension out of general fund, now the property tax will be paying that, and so we'd have about $800,000 in general fund. And so what we've discussed internally is to go ahead and we would try to, this would be something we would present to council. Obviously, council decides where that $800,000 will go. But what we would propose is that, some of that 800,000, we could use and probably get to 3 or 4 more officers. We could hire 3 or 4 more officers with some of that. We've already ordered a new ladder truck that we start making payments on that in 2026. So money could go towards that. And then I would also propose that we try to get, the Senior Adult Center funding and the Bryant Youth Association, formerly Boys and Girls Club. I'd like to get both of those organizations to $100,000 a year. Right now we give, 50 to BYA and 30 to the Senior Adult Center. I think both of those organizations are going to need more help from the city moving forward, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree that both of those organizations are crucial for quality of life. And so if we went this direction, it would be a real, we're trying to get as concrete as possible with the voters. If you approve this, this is kind of what the city would be thinking as far as where that money would go. And so, that's the idea, as a way to sustain this the public safety pension long-term, right? As long voters put it in place, it's there. Doesn't matter what administration comes and goes, who's ever elected this is going to go until the people say stop. We've locked in a funding source for police and fire into the future.
I have a question
Yes, sir.
concerning the other cities that were cited, El Dorado, Texarkana, and Benton. They do it through this method. What would be the general consensus of counties in the state? How do they approach this from a funding standpoint?
I mean, it's mixed. We tried to look at ones that are more like us, you know, similar. I think Little Rock.
Hot Springs, they have actual sales tax that works their pension. There's several other fire department, police departments that, they use a mix of some kind of millage and sales tax or something similar. I know Rogers was one. Thirsty does something similar.
But nothing that's ever really supposed to be coming out of the general fund. So these are all separate line items that are created specific to.
Excuse me.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's obviously some of the logic behind the state law, that voters can do this. Council can't, but voters can.
And we wanted to do it, have a mix. Is that what the proposal is for the state tax, the sales tax and the millage?
No, so this would just be asking the voters for 1 mil increase for fire, 1 mil increase for police.
In addition to what's coming out of the general fund, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So there would still be, some general fund money would still need to be spent, but obviously not as much.
It's a state pension system, correct? What are their respective contributions? What does the city contribute? What does the employee contribute?
Employee didn't,
To the pension.
they don't contribute anything employed, it's all done by this.
No, it actually is around 9% for the employee and
Oh, is
around
it?
24% for the city.
If you were hired before a certain point, you're grandfathered in, you don't contribute. After,
Okay.
like 2007,
Right.
8, like that.
But now it's
It's
24/9.
contributory.
How much does the pension have to go up every year to keep covering the people retired?
It's not necessarily to cover the people that retire, it's, like, if you look at the numbers, how they go up, 2023 was when we did the 7th grade increase, what they pay based off your salary. Pension itself comes from lot fee,
So
and
somebody,
they fund that through diversification of the stock market and stuff like that, just like APRS and
Right.
teacher retirement stuff, so we have to pay so that you can be in. But it's based on the salary of your employees. So as each year's salaries go up, it's gonna go up.
So in most cases, other cities in Arkansas these costs are funded under the general fund of the city?
It's a mix. Some cities have used this option and taken to the voters, and voters have said yes, but, it's,
So whether it's whether the revenue source is a millage or a sales tax, it's still general fund revenue?
Well, this would be set aside separately, wouldn't it?
right. Yeah, it would,
It's not
this,
a separate fund, it's not we currently don't have a police pension fund or
No.
fire
No.
pension fund.
That's correct.
This would be
General.
establishing that.
It would
Correct.
look like-
Well, that's the other question. So if this was to pass, would the city create an independent police pension fund and a fire pension fund? Or
Well-
does it just affect the overall funding of the general fund?
yeah,
I think we
Yeah.
It frees up 800,000.
the general fund, yes, sir.
But I think we would have to allocate those funds directly to.
Yes.
Right.
the office.
Oh, I understand that.
You couldn't,
But if you,
They would have to go straight
if
into
you
a
prepare the
fund.
budget,
Right.
these costs would be in the police department budget under pension contributions.
I don't think so.
And then on the general fund revenue, the 1 mil and 1 mil would be a general fund revenue source.
Mm-mm.
I think that they would probably be more representative like the sales tax currently is. So it's sales taxes that are allocated already to police and fire, then those funds are actually, they don't ever hit the general fund budget. They go straight into
Their own little bucket.
their own little
they're
fund.
dedicated for that only.
Their own fund. Now,
That's why I asked, is it a separate fund?
yeah,
It-
it would have to be.
Line items in a general fund are buckets.
Right.
You know,
I think
But
this
it's
would be
part-
outside of the general fund.
it would be a separate fund.
Because it's already allocated, it's really already earmarked for what it has, and it can only be spent on
I know,
that.
I know.
Chief, how many officers do you need now?
I've been asking for 4 more for the last 4 years.
Are you hiring on that new thing that we passed last month with the federal dollars that were
And
coming?
we haven't got that awarded yet. That, we applied for a grant, House grant for 4 officers. We won't know until, I think the earliest we'll find out is October.
Brandon, how many do you need fire people?
We can always use some, but right now, we're just working on making payments on the new fire truck. That's our goal.
Okay.
That
If
ladder
this-
truck is,
If this were
that's
not,
gonna be a big help, yes.
if the voters were to say no, where does funding for the ladder truck otherwise come from?
General fund, yes, sir.
Mhm.
Okay. And how much is that annual payment
It's a monthly payment of around 62,000 and some change,
monthly?
36 months.
It's expensive.
Correct.
Now, that's already been allocated though, correct?
Mhm.
Correct.
When was the last time we raised the first property?
That was last year.
2023. And I don't, I hesitate to even, there was a homestead hit the same year, the homestead credit. So that increase, the majority of, if you own the home you live in, that increase was basically, from what we can tell, was a wash because of the credit. So as far as kind of the hit on the residents, this will be the first one they've felt since the 90s.
It's been a long time since before the last one.
So having said that, so we're currently at 3.2 mils,
Correct.
based on what he just was talking about. We raised it 2 mils, I thought it could only go to 5. I noticed your ordinance says up to 1.
Council has the authority to raise it to 5.
Go up.
It could go, there are certain things by state law that can be added, like apparently a zoo. Or, so you can go above, the council can't go above the 5, but the people can.
So the safest thing to do strategically is if you want to dedicate funding, and you've got this mechanism, voter-approved millage is preferable. Because it's dedicated.
Right, and that, we talked about that. I mean, we could go to council and say, would you
Right.
raise this to 5, which will be another 1.8? we felt like, I think, I can't speak for council, but we always like to go to the voters. Like, if you're gonna have a tax increase, it's always best to ask them. And the fact that the designation, right? I mean, if council could come back in 2 years and say, no,
Yeah,
this,
every 2 years.
yeah, exactly.
New council, in January.
You're yanking
Well,
pensions back and forth.
That's right. And so you really don't have a safe, dedicated source of funding for
Excuse me.
pensions.
No.
But you would in this case, because under state law, if it's voter approved, you must dedicate that 1 mil each police.
You know, I think that some of our question, why I wanted to present this publicly and you guys and not ask for any kind of sort of decision, but just to, if we could start to get some sort of feedback from the residents, since it is for, public safety, we could find some more funding for some of these key programs. Is this something that they'd be willing to do, or do we find out real quickly that, you know, the response is no, don't bother? You know, I think that's some of what we want to.
Have you had any conversation with the school if they're gonna do any millage in the future they know of?
I have not heard, there was some discussion, but I haven't heard any final answer. So I would, unless they're gonna announce something soon, you know, there was talk about them doing something this November, but I don't know.
That, one idea you might want to consider, just to be of help to Karen, Dr. Walters, is to have a discussion with her now to give her a heads up that this is something the city is contemplating, so she doesn't get.
So I know when they tried to, it took, I don't know how many times to get it passed. This last one they had.
School.
Oh, yeah.
Would you be bringing the ordinance to council?
Well, if we felt like if you as a committee, felt like this was a good idea, I think we can take it anytime, but by December, it would have to be passed. I mean, we could. 3 readings.
Well, that's where I was headed with that, was that if you do the 3 readings, you're really looking at needing to probably have it there,
October.
well, October, November. When is December, when's your deadline in December?
Just by the December council.
Yeah.
Okay.
December council.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mm.
And that,
Probably get us to some board meetings, some town hall meetings. My question to the finance guy over here, I mean, so that, because there's a little website here, but I don't have internet access, but I did a little research on millage surrounding areas. Well, I did do a screenshot.
They have internet here.
Yeah, but I'm not.
You just gotta ask for the password.
Oh, here we
Right
go.
there, right there. Right there it is.
But, so that would put us, the highest in the county, in Saline County. I mean, and it puts us, Benton's at, well, we're at 3. Benton's at, well, it says 2.8, but then they have their 1 mil, so they're really at 3.8.
Hey, does that include their 1 mil for their fire or no?
Well, according to this, yes, it does, but it says the city general, and then it says 1 mil for fire, and so then it gives you a total over here of 3.8 for
Okay.
that.
So-
That puts us the highest in the county. When you're that high next to your neighbor, how does that impact us? Because we gotta sell rooftops, and if we want to generate business and we want to generate growth.
You know, I think we're kind of in a position, we don't have as many resources as a Benton because of land and the businesses that are affiliated with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they could, because of scale, you know, go with a lower, you know, millage than what we would propose. I think we're kind of up against it. So, you know, I think, I hear your point, But I think under the circumstances, I mean, unless we decided that we just wanted to do half or 3/4 instead of, I don't know where that right answer is, but I think, you know, you're talking about the difference between $5 a month, $7 a month. If you were to, you know, start changing millages.
Right.
Oh,
And if-
yeah, yeah.
If you're gonna ask, I think this is probably, I mean, you're kind of throwing a dart.
That puts us up there with, I mean, we're up above Haskell and Crestwood. That's bad company.
Well, Haskell's not a city.
Well, they're collecting tax like.
Well, they could be, but that's Benton.
Lockside.
Bauxite's at 5 too. None of those people have a retail or a business district.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that,
Tax the
Because
people.
Haskell doesn't have a post office, so they really are not classified as a town. It all goes to Benton.
Well, the county's taking taxes off
I think
of it.
Haskell is a city, they have a mayor, police chief.
Yeah.
There's
Haskell is incorporated.
But, you know, I was talking to Jeff, he said that's our biggest problem is we have to answer to Benton for anything because we don't have a PO box, a zip code.
you know, and again, in the weeds, not the average voter's gonna think about this, but that ISO rating saves people a lot of
Oh,
money.
yeah. We have a good police department.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that, so there are financial advantages to investing, obviously, and economic to more police, safe, quality of life, and the ISO. But I just don't know how much gets passed all to somebody going in a booth to say yes to a tax. Right? I mean, you know, I don't know. I don't know that it even matters right now.
Oh,
That it is for public safety. It's just a question I have.
I don't have any problem voting for a millage for the council. It's going to the right place, but I would be very apprehensive about going to a vote, people, millage, especially after we got what we got last time.
I agree.
2 times.
We don't have a good track record.
We
The
don't.
last time was painful.
And what were those, and forgive me, I don't know what the other two you're referring to, what were those for specifically?
One was the band and.
Well, if you're adding the BAM in with that,
BAM and AMP, the last 2 special elections.
yeah, so,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm looking at it from kind of a public safety standpoint. You know, people are always more apt to vote yes for police fire than they would be.
Unless they use them, they don't appreciate it.
I think
Right.
given what
If
we've
you have
had.
a fire, the fire department will be like, oh yeah, they're great, police same way.
Yeah.
Why do you think people move out in the county? And their insurance goes up so much is because they don't have fire protection and police protection, basically.
And I just go back to the bond that we passed, that we didn't pass for the ban, was we built fire stations with that. And I think that's really what carried the day on that bond issue.
Well, we got to share on yours.
With the BAM, playing the devil's advocate, you were asking people to support city funding of the facility that is a non-traditional function of the city,
Mm-hmm.
certainly in Arkansas. City funding, not the concept by the private sector. And so I think as you look at the big picture, the other thing I would say is that the AMP tax, the process that was used for that, as it was moving all over the place in terms of direction and the final outcome in terms of what went to the voters, created a problem, challenging problem to get a yes vote. And the BAM, like I said,
Yeah.
you know, that certainly is in a different category than, do you want to buy a new fire truck?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
So from my point of view, my initial reaction is that if the vote, well, let me back up. One question I have, Mayor, is we talked earlier when we were discussing stormwater fees about the public engagement and the town halls, et cetera. How do you see, and I think on stormwater, we talked about the fact that we want to slow down and engage the public. What are your priorities? Which I think is so very, very important to ask them rank, what's important to you. How do you see the issue of funding? In part 2 of our assignment, police and fire pension, how do you see that folding into that process? Would you see that this is a topic of discussion in
Yes,
terms of support?
Yes, sir.
As I shared it, if you needed a fire, if your house started burning down, you appreciate that fire department.
They do so much more than come put out a fire.
I mean, no, but that's what people say.
No, but
They're there for medical emergencies.
they did, yes, they are quick like a
But
rabbit.
until they use, somebody
Way more
uses,
medical than we do
You
fire.
do.
oh, yeah,
Well,
but until somebody has to use you.
Studies show that traditionally, and this is nationwide, the voters that show up, and so we care about is the people that actually vote. They are much more likely to be supportive of anything related to public safety. Building a police station, hiring more officers, firefighters, and parks. Because police, fire, public safety, my own personal safety, and parks, hey, fun, leisure, a good time, my kids, etc. And that's fairly common in most cities. It's when you get into these other areas, let's build a new city hall or something, that's always, at least from my time, but that's always, it's really needed, don't you understand? Yeah, right.
Well, the same thing with the school,
Oh, yeah.
the school millage. It just blew some of that stuff out of proportion, and it wasn't true. And it was people who didn't even live here.
Yeah.
And in
Like,
this
just like BAM.
public engagement, I'm into just direct, this engagement, just speak the truth and say, well, one option is to do nothing. I mean, and politely and professionally and diplomatically don't say, is that what you want us to do? I wouldn't suggest that approach. But, the fourth option, as you go through the choices as to what the needs are, is to do nothing, because that's just common. That's always a recommended approach, because that is an option.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And what I have found in this public process is that, when you put that on the table, because it's an honest option, then it gets some people thinking about, well, no, I'm not saying don't do anything.
Right.
And then that's, you want to try to find a way to say, well, then what, Mrs. Smith, you lovely lady, what would you support? What do you think we should do? And I've been in those situations, and you can, over time, you can get some valuable input.
How many of us have we heard Bryant's got a lot of money? Has anybody heard that? Yep.
I've heard that.
Why we need that, we have a lot of money. Well, they don't realize we don't have a lot of money.
Oh, and that's,
Yeah,
and that's the
The
other,
benefit of public process is that, the mayor and I have talked about this, is education. At these meetings, take 30 minutes to do a primer. Let us discuss with you. Have a one-page sheet. Here's the funds of the city. Here's how many people it takes to provide the services that are funded, like police officers, firefighters, parks department, animal control. This is general fund, water, sewer, et cetera. And just hit them. And this is how much revenue comes into the general fund. These are the expenses of the general fund. And here's the deficit or profit from that fund. Here's reality. And here are our needs. Okay, we can't solve stormwater with sewer fees. We can't hire police officers from the water fund. That's a general fund. Most people, I'm telling you this, most people across the country, residents, do not understand how cities are funded, where the money comes from. They know their taxes, their property tax bill. They know the sales tax on their restaurant bill. But beyond that, you're lucky if you can get them to know much more. And I'm not being critical. I'm just saying that's reality.
I agree.
They don't know how animal control is funded. they're more likely to say, well, why do we have, everybody and their brother has an animal control operation? You know, why don't we, has anybody ever looked at consolidating animal control in the county? Might be a good idea, might be a
It has been
horrible
talked
idea.
about.
And people are very
2 years
supportive.
back when Alan,
That's why-
last year Alan was here.
If, in your process, people need to know that the city has taken an honest assessment of how the money is currently spent. If you can have a public process that does that, you're going to help your cause at the time that you say, we need additional revenue. Because the first likely question from a typical person is, well, how are you spending the money now? Because if they're a taxpayer, they're likely more than not, they're likely to perceive, true or not, that, oh, well, y'all are, this is not Bryant, but y'all are wasting the money. Y'all are, oh my gosh, you know, I'll never forget. Those public works guys are out in the street, there's 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're standing there. What are they doing? Why do you need 3 people? Well, you try to, every city.
Oh, yeah.
issue.
Perception.
So public education.
But one reality, and Denisha's kind of hit on it, that's gonna bite us, is that council already knows that water, wastewater rates are going up. So this will come on the heels of that.
But do most residents know that?
No, but they will eventually.
They will be very,
Hope they'll
very
figure it-
upset, because they're upset now about the wastewater and water
Well,
bills.
if they're gonna go up on or about January 1st, we need to get cracking. In terms of the public,
I hear
You
that
need
all
to
the
be-
time, is about everybody's water and sewer bill.
Mhm.
one of the things,
78%.
one of the, that relates to mandates. One of the things that's typical, is that oftentimes
mandated,
residents
but
don't
it's
know
out of
unfunded
your pocket.
state, they don't know about unfunded state mandates or unfunded federal mandates. And I would put that on this sheet of paper, unfunded mandates, so that when you look at the general fund, you identify, I mean down to the dime or dollar, you identify how much of the general fund is as a result of the state and federal mandates. That's also can be very helpful, because they don't,
No, nobody knows.
nobody knows.
I was not aware about what you were sharing about what the state requires, 2%.
Mayor, Chris, so let me ask you, this is a good form, I know this is public, they can go back and look at it on YouTube. But Scott does make a good point, you know, maybe everybody's not on YouTube, and maybe everybody don't read the little notes
Yeah.
that you put in the water bill, I do.
Yeah, thank you.
Good stuff.
But, you know, what other ways can we educate? I know we're gonna do the, community engagement, but just looking at different ways, having some kind of cheat sheet
Yeah.
to show. I know they do it in churches, things like that, which makes people wanna give more. I think if they see where the money's going, and whether we're in the green or red, when we start sharing that we need more money, and we try to propose different taxes or millages, we may get more buy-in.
Well, you have a certain amount of people who show up, so they want to show up.
Yeah.
And you'll have people who don't show up, who's going to complain,
You're gonna always
so they
have
don't know the
complaints.
facts.
You're gonna always have.
Now,
complaints.
Jordan did a great article that was in the Courier about the area growing. Did you write that, or did you? Okay.
He approved it, but I wrote it.
But it talks about the need for services because our communities are expanding.
I know it.
Annexation,
They know that. I mean, that's one of the biggest complaints I hear is, we're getting too big too quick. Don't have room.
Oh, my goodness. They think that now?
well, when they cut down our jurisdiction area, it didn't help. We have no control about that.
Can I have 5 minutes, maybe, just
Sure.
to be a devil's advocate from the old school?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Y'all can throw tomatoes in a few minutes, be fine. Is Joy Black on this thing by any chance?
I don't
All
think
right,
so.
okay. Well, I'll give you the old numbers from a couple of years ago. March elections are terribly attended.
You go out and have these public meetings like you're talking about having, hardly attended. We had them in 2016, 2017, and we had more staff there than we had people come and visit. And we had them all over the city.
Mhm.
You couldn't get people to come to them. And that's that time now. I mean, I know we've got a lot more internet and a lot more activities, and Jordan can get on these things and blow stuff up, and possibly they'll draw more. But just, I'm being realistic from the old school side.
That's good information.
And we're talking about doing this where you're $7 a month, okay? And Joy had it figured where it's just over $100 and something a month, or, I mean, a year, total, on a 1 cent tax. It only affected voters in that price range. 1 cent tax, not just paid by and placed on the back of the citizens of Bryant. It's everybody that comes into Bryant. And everybody shakes their head, no, we're not doing that, don't want to hear it. But you think about all the people that come into Bryant for these fall tournaments and for everything else, and help share that burden and that weight for that 1 cent. That 1 cent brings in over $3 million a year. Would, basically, right now, exactly. You can check their box. You can check a box for people man that engine he's buying. Well, I guess it's an engine. There's a ladder truck in it. Pardon me. Truck. And check the box, the senior center and the youth association moving forward, and their growth and their needs. Because what you're planning on paying for the Bryant Senior Center is not going to cover it, especially if you take it over. That's just not going to happen. And it's hard to consider that, but you're checking a lot of boxes off with that, where you can build some type of reserve for a lot of these things that are moving forward and cover all these things here, plus help the parks, help the waste, the water, stormwater department. Instead of, we want to tax the churches, we want to tax all these people who are already having to build a subdivision to maintain the water for a 100-year flood. They're already paying to do that, yet we want to charge them extra. We want to charge them more. We want to charge these churches more who've already built that 100-year floodplain detention pond out there in their property somewhere. And I mean, we just keep piling on our citizens. And I'm with the seniors every day down there and in my neighborhoods, and I hear from people in every ward, which Lisa can testify to, because I'm involved in the dead young thing over in Kings Crossing. And you know, I hear it from everybody, and they've had enough. I mean, they have flat had enough. We threw $15 on with absolutely no preparation at all for the water. You know, and $15 to the people in this room is not that much because of what you make, okay? But $15 to the person who's sitting down there drawing a few $100 a month, and there's a bunch of them in town. And it's not just the old folks. I mean, we got single moms all over this town and single adult households, just not moms. But, I mean, people are struggling, and we're getting those people right. I mean, people are building things and trying to reflip them and remodel them and stuff where they can't afford it, and those people aren't going to be here. But we still got them in the apartments and stuff, and we still have them in a lot of the houses in our part of town, in the old part of Bryant. And my 5 minutes up?
Yes.
Still, yes?
I'm just kidding.
All right.
We
I'll
hear
retire
you.
then.
You're just a 1 cent, sorry, you're saying the better option would be a 1 cent?
I'm just suggesting that,
Discuss it.
to discuss a 1 cent tax, just because it's shared. I mean, and that's the way that, I knew city council members for 50 and 60 years before I ever got to where I was on city council. I went to church with a bunch of them. And that was their thought process. That's why everybody said, Bryant's got the highest one in town. Well, yeah, they do. But we also had, for 40 years, in the late eighties was the last time that millage that y'all doubled in 2023 on personal property, on property tax. It hadn't gone up in 40 years, which I was proud of, and once y'all got me off of there, it's gone, but.
Scott, I know Scott and I have talked about the people who vote.
That's what I was gonna bring up.
Scott, would you mind sharing that about?
Well, just in
Well,
the
I
March
looked-
election cycle, this last election
Yes.
cycle, in
Yes.
March, who votes? People that Butch is talking about.
There's a demo I looked at from the county about age groups.
Mhm.
It was
and
in the paper, wasn't it? Wasn't it in the paper?
Not the
Well,
one.
Scott's got the numbers.
Go ahead, share that.
It is just, whoa, you know, and it just clearly tells you what my perception was of who vote. And, you know, Mayor and I have talked about this, that like, hey, old people vote.
Do you remember?
They always vote. They're gonna vote. If they're sick, they're gonna get, you know, they're still gonna try to
We're
vote.
driving them to the voting center,
Yes.
honestly.
Yes.
They were, I saw it.
Well, and they go anyway. They vote
And
anyway.
Your 28-year-old doesn't.
So in the last election cycle, 65% of the vote came from people 55 and
Yes.
above.
55 and over.
And
It was 60.
they came out last March. If we do this again, they'll come out again in March. So I don't know how they'll vote, but they'll be there.
Or they
You
vote
mean
against it.
Regardless
will.
whether it's millage or sales tax,
Yeah.
they'll vote no.
Yep.
So even on, if you went sales tax and you propose this plan, police, fire, pension, you know, getting some stability to the funding of the senior center, Boys and Girls Club, fire truck, does that go down, Butch? Does that vote
They
go down?
receive that much better than they receive us sending them anything else.
What I like about what you say is that I'm all in support of everybody that participates in the Bryant economy help pay the freight, and that includes non-residents, which are the people coming through hotel, you know, going to Copper Mural, or Blue, God bless
Exactly.
Blue House, you know, whatever, you know. I think,
And we're sitting here talking about that, and yet you tell them, well, Bryant's at this percentage, well, they'll turn around and go down to Benton and eat there, or shop there, and they're paying an extra 1% over what we're already paying
right,
here in Bryant
right.
for their A&P tax down there.
Yeah.
It's putting it, they're 1 cent over us.
Well, and this
I'm
is,
just-
no,
that's fine.
thank you, Butch. I mean, I think this is the purpose.
Dark advocate side.
Yeah, this is the purpose of this committee, right, is, and I said, we'll come with an idea to get it started, but it's not the idea.
Yeah.
It's, if there's a unity in the leadership of this community that, hey, this is what we all think is the best way forward, and we put that in front of the people, and then the people decide, like, that to me is good government. Like, you elected us to lead. Here's what we think we should do. Tell us yes or no. And, you know, that to me is the best way forward. So if we felt like the best way forward is a sales tax piece that's designated, and I like it designated, I think it's helpful. It's a lot more helpful for a department head to know, here's my designated tax, that's my budget.
So if you.
Right, then the so, yeah, a very clear designated, this is what we're asking you to do, this is where it's gonna go,
So if you go.
could be the way to go.
If your March 26th issue was a 1 cent increase in the sales tax, with the millage, the state law says that you do 1 and 1.
I'm sorry.
It has to go,
You almost have to text me.
it has to go to police and fire.
Correct.
But if you switch all this to a 1 cent sales tax, something that looks very much like this,
875.
can you legally do the same thing with the 1 cent sales tax? Can you restrict it so that future councils cannot change it?
And that's what we currently have that.
You can or can't?
You can.
It has to go back to the voters if it's ever gonna get changed.
Yeah, you can, but you can put on, if you do like a 1 cent sales tax, like Rich suggested, you could do a half cent police, half cent for
Dedicated.
fire, dedicated to, because we already have that.
We've had 3/8 for the fire department, which they're using right now.
Okay,
Well, and one of the things, just that this is we're talking about public safety, one of the things that I think is out of balance, and Chief Menden, and so the fire has the 3/8 and they have two pieces, right? Police only has one piece of a penny. So there's a little bit of a lack of balance there.
Y'all don't care about us. I've noticed it.
I do.
But I do think, like, again, what ends up happening is every year when we budget, we still give the police department what they need, but it comes out of that general fund. Because it's not allocated, which when you start your budget as a department head, and here's my allocated resources. That's the best way to start, because I gotta deal with this revenue. I think that would be one thing that I would suggest we put out there. If we're gonna do something like this, let's get it the same for police and fire on the sales tax piece.
Which I will say this, as devil advocate, the reason, I go to Benton is because the shopping here for food and things is kind of captured.
Well, I understand that.
And your restaurants are limited.
Yes,
Butch, let me ask you a question.
if we had same ones here as we do in Benton, we would never go to Benton.
I understand that too. But when you do go, you're paying that extra.
Oh, yeah, and look what they've done, that 1%.
I know. Amazing. Look what we could do with that 1%.
Amen.
If we went to March 2026 with a 1 cent sales tax, and we know who votes in Bryant, right? I mean, this is just isn't the last time. I mean, historically, I looked at the data, and 60+%, they're 55 or 50 or older. What is the best way in Bryant to reach those people?
It's not on the internet, because most of them can't get on there.
Right. Is it in person?
Yes, sir. That's
I think
it.
so. I
And
agree.
it's having those meetings, because when we did have those meetings, that's who showed up.
That's
Wanted to see what
Knocking
was
on doors
happening.
one.
And it was wanting to see what was happening in their neighborhood, because they heard it was coming.
And probably need to be organized with somebody like Bush or Lisa or somebody that's in those, embedded in those communities.
We need to find out where that age group lives.
Since you're collecting it a different way, if you're gonna collect it via sales tax, you could push it to the November general. You have a different turnout. You have a bigger turnout. I think a bigger turnout would help you.
I don't know.
I think the only time
the
the only time you have a good turnout usually is when there's a presidential election or a governor, things of that nature.
Right.
Yeah, those are the times when the people younger than the
They're
regular
coming out.
show up. So that,
They're
no,
out.
I don't mean.
Oh.
No.
Oh, wow, she was compliment, she thought it was a compliment. She's like,
No, you are.
Watch out.
She's our representative in this council,
Yeah.
or committee, or in John.
If we went to sales tax direction, okay, if you were to say, hey, we could roll that into our surveys over the next 4 to 6 months and find out if there was a sales tax, what would you be willing to, how would you divide it up? Where would
I
you
would
put
give them
the
options.
I wouldn't let them have to get these your options, police, fire, whatever, or just say 1% is a designated sales tax for the fire and police.
Pensions.
Pension.
You have to earmark it as pensions, wouldn't you? Or would you not?
Would that work, chief and chief?
I guess you don't have to earmark it.
I guess, maybe that's the wrong way. I'm just asking, if you want to go that direction, what would you need from us? What data and, work would you need from us to kind of help
I
work
think,
through that decision.
I think with what Butch said, kind of resonated with me. You could put up a comparison of the residents of Bryant, right? And what that impact would be on the residents. And then you could do a traffic count of people shopping in Bryant. And really, that's the difference, because you've got a lot of, transient people that don't live in Bryant that are, you know, they're paying that sales tax, not just the residents of Bryant. Something along those lines, you know, and just kind of lay on, you want the people that are traveling through Bryant to pay our tax.
Yeah.
Not the people of Bryant paying that tax.
And in that public presentation, what I would do for strategic reasons, I would say, you know, we looked at these needs, and you know, the first thing we looked at, we thought about was millage. We thoroughly discussed that, but then, you know, because it's only gonna be residents there.
That's
The
right.
guy lives in Haskell.
But we didn't want to impact you.
But, you know, we thought about this, and we said, well, what are options? Are there other better alternatives? And then we could ask Butch to stand up, and we could present him as the person, this young man.
This is the old guy.
The old man that
This is
stood
the
up
old
and
man
said, well, you
opened
know,
his mouth.
and the reason I say that
Good job,
is
Butch.
that you'd be surprised, but they would like the fact that
He's an old man.
these city people had the presence of mind that, wait a minute, let's go another direction, because we recognize that this would really hurt those of you that are on fixed income or low income or both. That would be part of that strategy.
And to me, they're very well aware that we have already placed a burden directly upon them.
Yes.
And just the past few things that we've done in our voting, and
Right.
taxes and water rates and those kind of things.
Correct. I hear that more than anything else.
That's
Oh, yeah.
another
Now,
thing.
kind of a question is, people in apartments don't pay property tax, do they? I mean, people who have living in
Just the
apartments and
owners.
duplexes.
Just the owners.
Yeah, but how many?
Well, indirectly,
They
though.
just pay for
And
the
then
car.
whether
They pay
he
the
passes
personal
on or
property
not.
tax, they pay the
Okay.
tax on
Yeah.
the
How many
vehicle, but-
people do y'all know that live in apartments, duplexes?
Well, the typical apartment dweller isn't your most informed resident.
I'm trying to get a
But
number.
the answer is that yes, they do, because they pay X number of dollars a month in rent. And I will be assured you that the owners of that, Mr. Lindsay Management,
He's gonna pass that
looks
on.
at all his
Sure.
expenses, and he incorporates that into his
But they all do
rate.
buy stuff here, so that'd be a sales tax
Yes,
benefit instead of a property
Right.
tax.
Right.
right. It's just they don't see the portion they pay.
You can count that Mr. Lindsay's gonna get his extra $10 a month, though, when he
Yeah.
finds out his taxes just went up on
Yeah.
the building.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then he'll
absolutely.
pass it on.
Yeah.
Scott, I got a question for you,
Yes.
that you may be able to answer this, or somebody able to. How do you differentiate between, are they just voting no for the sales tax, or are they voting no for the reason for the sales tax? Because just like you said a minute ago, the A&P tax didn't impact everybody in town. I mean, most everybody in town is not staying in a hotel,
Correct.
and a lot of the restaurant traffic is not people in town, but yet that fell miserably. And it was the same
Well,
parking, so.
I'll answer part of that, Chief, is
What I'm
because
asking is,
it
though,
was not
Are they
supported by the
voting
city.
against Are they voting against the tax just because of the tax, or are they voting because of what you wanted to do with the tax? So how do you
I
get
think-
the information from the public?
I think the
Are you wanting
people,
the tax, or what do you want it for?
the city did not support that A&P.
The city
Yeah, it was-
council
it
was,
was
I'll just say it,
Train wreck.
that's when I first started paying attention, watching the council meeting, and I'm thinking, oh my God.
Mhm.
You know, like, they don't even, and the election date had already been set. They don't even know what, they don't know what they want to do.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, and
Are they
4-3
voting against
votes
the
or
tax, or are they
5-3
voting
votes.
against
And
the
there was a vote
uncertainty
for
of
the
what you're
A&P.
gonna spend it on?
And
And I think that's the definitive thing you gotta get out
if
there.
the people that live here look, so they see the council, and you know, they all talk amongst themselves, you know, by word of mouth, seniors do. I'll tell you what, because I'm a senior and I see a lot of seniors all the time. And they
You've
come
been
up to
down
me.
there.
Huh?
I said, you've been down there.
Yeah, they come up to me all the time. Say, what's going on? And that's what the AMT tax was about, was that the proposal changed.
Mm-hmm.
And you had, when he was Parks and Rec Director, I remember him at the podium trying to work to come up with a proposal and coming back with revised proposals. And the council was, you know, the good news is they were deliberating, but they had not yet, there was no unanimity. Not that you have to have that, but I mean, there was obvious to a well-informed person looking at that there was tension on the council and there was disagreement about which way to go. So now you've got a proposal going to the voters, and the voters, you know, they're looking for reasons to vote no.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important. You know, the council having its act together and agreeing with all its diversity that this is a good proposal. And then you go to you have the public process, and you sit down at tables, and you have the police chief at that table, and the fire chief at that table, and department heads and council members at each table. And then somebody makes a presentation about the lay of the land, the facts, where the money comes from, where it goes, so that you reach a level of basic education for those people participating. You work like heck to make sure the seniors are at that meeting, because those are the people that's the audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if it's raising the millage or a sales tax, that is the audience you're trying to get to those meetings. And maybe you have 12 meetings at the senior center. I mean, I don't know. But you've got to make sure you cover that audience, but assure them that they have a sense as to, you know, it takes X number of people to provide police department services. Did you know it takes 36 people to provide fire protection in Bryant? They don't know any of that. And it costs a lot of money, you know, wages and benefits and supplies and equipment in particular. Just this education.
So you asked the question, are the people voting against? You two guys right there in the corner are two of the most likable people in the city.
Whoa, I wouldn't say that.
So let me just, so you got.
Maybe Brandon.
Brandon's good.
Brandon,
Nobody likes the police chief, that's a well-known fact,
But
yeah.
I don't think,
and that's every city.
Let him bring out his bass fishing pole and everybody's his best friend in Bryant.
but based on history, and some of us old people have talked about history and votes and stuff, there's the seniors, there's the people that are gonna vote based on their wallet, based on and how all these other fees impact them. But based on what Jim said, and he was talking about the school board elections, there's a certain group of people that are gonna vote against that three-letter word.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many times, everybody knows the school runs off of tax revenue. I mean, that's the only way they operate. And it took how many?
I believe three times to pass a millage to expand the schools, because people thought they would be used wastefully.
I'll tell you another thing, maybe this will answer your question, but I have never voted for a tax increase in my entire life, and I don't miss many elections. First tax increase I voted for was when the personal property tax came through 2 years ago, or wherever that was.
On the council.
Because I've been dead set against the taxes. I was well informed about what that was going to. And what you've got to do is get the word out of why we're doing it, what we need it for, and
It will certainly help you.
It's kind of what I was going with, is like, obviously, and I've talked to people that didn't vote for the AMP. One, there was mixed messages, because they still thought 15,000 seats and all that stuff, and,
Yeah.
but they didn't want it. They were like, I don't want the traffic.
Correct.
They just didn't want it.
Didn't like the
The
location.
AMP tax, they just didn't want it, so we presented.
No, that was not the A&P, that was totally separate. They failed at A&P, and I think one of the reasons, y'all can correct me on, because people correct me all the time, was the previous A&P commission mishandled how they, buying a piece of land to put a billboard up, things of this nature.
That was well overpriced for what we were paying for it.
So why are we spending that money for a billboard?
To speak to it, I think that what you would be going for, like Butch was talking about tax, for example, you would almost certainly have to allocate it directly to police and fire, I would think, because that's the way you're gonna get the buy-in from the public, because as we stated before, public safety is what people will vote yes for, right? So I think to maybe take a step back from that, but you said that 1 cent sales tax would result in about $3 million, is that?
That was her calculations, and that was a couple of years ago.
Okay.
About right.
So it's probably
It may be more than
It should be
now.
more than that.
Yeah.
So then the
should be
trick to
more than
that then would be, is $3 million directly allocated to police and fire? You see, so then do people, so maybe we need to look at stepping back from that full 1 cent to,
That's what Scott was saying, what we're gonna I believe, what we're gonna allocate, let's make plainly sure that this is going here,
Yes.
that's going there, this is going over here to help with the stormwater, okay? This is going over here to help with the youth, this is going over here to help with the seniors deal, because we've got to take care of that, and $30,000.
I guess where I was going with that though is, do we feel like the likelihood of getting the public out to vote for a full 1 cent sales tax that's maybe half allocated to police and fire and then also allocated to other things is as likely to pass or less likely to pass or more likely to pass than a half-cent sales tax that's fully allocated to police and fire? Or quarter-cent sales tax that's completely allocated to police and fire? You see what I'm saying? So that's where kind of my mind was with that discussion is a quarter cent accomplish what we're trying to accomplish with the 800,000 here and then be completely allocated to police and fire? We feel like public can get way more on board for that.
And the smaller the ticket, the more it's like in retail, you
Oh, I'm
price
open to
it at
anything.
$1.99.
Y'all's the brains on that, I just throwing that
Well,
out
the
there.
thing about it is that
Odd
she
pricing-
said,
Odd pricing work.
I love the idea of a sales tax. I like that idea a
she
lot.
said that, you
I
know,
think it's just getting the public.
Getting the dollars right
That's
and.
right.
And Chris, you were just talking about, the point of pulling this out is really to free up so you can spend that money in these ways, right? So I think to John's point, the whole point of a tax or however we wanted to approach that is specific to police and fire. We're not trying to do anything further with it.
Yeah.
Because we're using the funds that'll be freed up for the other things, right?
Sure.
So I think if you came in with a quarter to a half, I think that's more than gonna cover what you would be looking at. Now, the question would be, your educated voter, do they care about a quarter to a half, right?
well, I think what it is are we gonna fulfill the need that the police and fire need?
Right.
I think
Because how do we compete in pay-wise compared to other towns?
Let me ask you this, because one of the things I think I hear you saying, Butch, and I'd like to ask if this is what I'm hearing from the committee too, is the fees, right? And the bills, the water bill, the fees that's coming directly to the resident, whether that's property tax, right? You would rather see us come with strategies that are sales tax based.
Yes, sir. Because takes the weight
Off of the, okay.
off of us.
And
We've already,
so
pulled
that-
a lot, we passed that previous school millage, that quadrupled my tax bill.
So I think with that, we're just talking about a different strategy. I think that could also inform the stormwater discussion. It could inform this, because again, with the voters choosing, there's a lot of freedom, right? Because it's not the council, it's not the mayor, it's the voters saying, yes, we agree, you can tax us for this thing.
And I'm fine with John's recommendation, that's whatever it takes.
I think we need Joy too.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
We need a little financial brain.
We can come back next month with plenty of options. If we, because that's what I just want to hear, we're changing strategy, we're looking for spreading it so that it's not so, impactful on residents.
I question those, go ahead.
Like with 5/8, say 5/8, if we need 5/8 to take care of them.
Okay, how long would that take care of them? Because,
That's,
as you said, they get paid on, it comes on, pension is based on wages, right? Know what I understood?
Well, give us some time, okay, to talk internally, and I think we can come back with some really good.
Yeah, like,
I think
I don't
we
wanna have to come
need
back 2 years
what
from
we
now.
were looking at, when we looked at that, was, it wasn't gonna just cover what we needed now. It was gonna cover us for 5 years in the future.
That's good.
And that's based the time, the way Bryant's growing, and the way I think it'll probably continue to grow. Our sales tax is just gonna keep increasing anyway, to probably keep up with that. She thought maybe up to 10 years, but I could be wrong. That's why I was hoping she might be.
Well, I think we can we'll be able to project out what we're thinking, because we're talking about that, we're talking 5 years in the future,
Yeah.
where we think the revenue is gonna go, where the
And
expenses.
then you can back into whether that's a quarter or a half.
Yes,
I
yes,
think if, Joy can pull together.
yes,
like,
we've already,
quarter,
yes, yeah.
5/8 and a half, and numbers tell you a lot.
I don't wanna have to go back and say, hey, we gotta do it again.
No.
I think it would be I think it would be helpful to staff, and work with staff, that to provide them with as clear direction as we can in terms of what problems we're trying to solve. So let me throw this out, so they're not like, grasping in the wind for, come up with 27 proposals to bring back. We're trying to solve the police pension problem, correct?
Public safety.
We're trying to solve the fire pension.
Yeah.
We're trying to get 3 or 4 more police officers,
I
correct?
forget that, man.
We're trying to, deal with the ladder truck.
I don't think you put that in, I think you
Well,
keep it
just let me-
simple.
Let me
Okay.
finish. We're trying to talk about taking care of the regular voters, deal with the senior citizen center, which has multiple benefits. The Bryant Youth Association and stormwater.
And streets.
Well,
We hadn't gotten the streets yet.
let me get, yeah, okay.
Our infrastructure,
So,
going forever.
and everything that I've said up to that point it's not frills, it's basic infrastructure, it's public safety, it's what I think my typical senior citizen friends would say, those are important. I agree that those are important, at least that's my perspective. One of the options I'd like to see to bring back to this committee is, so that we don't, have 7 elections in the next 4 years or whatever, is to say, what if one of the options, there could be more, is to bring something like that. In order to solve these problems for the next 3, 5+ years, here's what kind of money we need. We need a 1-cent sales tax to generate, let's say, $3.5 million, $4 million, or we need a 0.5 cent would take care of all these. But I'd like to see a proposal as to sales tax only, because obviously we're not really excited about millage at all, and see what that looks like.
What do we need to get Jack Mosley to vote for it? Since you never voted for one.
Well, I didn't vote for the first property, but I've had myself enlightened since I've been on council.
Yeah.
There's needs that I didn't know that. I was a redneck from Southwest Little Rock.
Really?
Yes,
Get out.
believe it or not.
Your feeling is about the same for most people who live in Bryant. Unless they're involved somewhere in the city.
To say that I know what I know now, I would take a good, long, hard look at sales tax increase. Find out what the facts are, what we're gonna do with it. I got no problem with it now.
Hey, Jonathan, you're the young one. How do you feel? I don't know if Alicia, she's younger, but, you're a business person here.
She just got out of Bryant High School 2 years ago.
But she works for the VA.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Capable, obviously.
Oh, yeah, very smart.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, being a young person, how do you see a sales tax?
So that I'm a representation of the demographic, I'm sorry. So I would say, personally, I think that, that looking at it and kind of what Jack said, you know, becoming informed with what the needs are and what the money can truly be used for.
It's all gonna be about
Do I
education.
feel like I notice a penny on the dollar?
How many people your age vote?
What is the
I won't
staff-
start giving them rides.
what is- what
We
is-
can put a bus together. We can.
what
This
is
is a new Bronco.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, for sure. I tend to agree exactly with what's already been said. I mean, that the older demographic is the demographic that goes to vote. And ultimately, like, you gotta get that demographic on board for whatever you're gonna accomplish, because you're gonna have probably 3 or 4 to 1 of them go. And
I agree. Well, you will if you do it in March, and if you wait till then, wait till November. it's
I would
different.
ask to John to say, I would also wanna know how it will affect
Mm-hmm.
young or old. This is gonna affect the young people too.
Well, how it affects the city.
What if the staff came
What are
back
you gonna
with
get for it?
3 or 4 different options, up to and including everything I initially, that's kind of like the full package. And then, you know, we get if that looks good, these options, and then you take those 3, 4, or 5 options and take it to the public process in the fall.
And to show them what we got, you know, that if we do this,
And
we're
get
gonna have
their-
a shining little city on the hill.
And get their priorities, either confirmed or, and one of your options is do nothing, but, you know, do you like this better than number 3 or number 4? Or,
I think we have talked, that is, we gotta get the segment that votes,
yes.
approval.
Is
to do
do
anything.
nothing an option?
Well, not really, but you've got to, the reason you have do nothing as an option, Jack, is to get their attention. Because
Get the extent-
typically,
I'm sorry. Can we go too long?
No, you're great.
I was saying, can I have an assistant for all this public education?
No.
I don't know.
Now, one thing I'll say, you probably had more dialogue from all of us in this meeting than you've had any other. My feeling is, the reason for that is because we're talking about funding better. And I think
Interesting.
your voter feels the same way,
Yes.
right? We talk about wastewater, and you don't have this kind of discussion.
Mm-mm.
And I think we're a representation of your voting public.
And we're funding them, not him.
And one of the things that's advantageous, which Lisa and Butch, you guys will know better this particular point, but if we take a tax to the public, what's the delay between when that gets approved by the public and we start collecting that tax?
I don't know.
It's not a year and a half.
No, it's not, it's.
So that takes a little bit of the urgency off.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
if we,
Distance between that and the fees that
that's
are
right.
already
If
imposed.
we are talking about,
Get some of that.
right, if we're talking about a millage really needing to go into effect in
Yeah.
January, to be collected in 26, to be paid out in 27,
Yeah.
Vote for it in
Versus-
March, you're gonna fail
Mhm.
miserably.
versus having a tax, a sales tax, that we look at that's maybe go into November, that really then you start collecting in 27 anyways, right?
Correct, yeah.
Where,
With more people, the pie's more divided.
about it, you also have more time for education, you have more time,
It helps really just to do like he said, this is going here, this is going there, this is what we need.
You tell them what you want them to hear,
Anywhere else.
and you tell them again, and you tell them again.
But you gotta be honest and transparent with them.
And you got,
And I don't
yeah,
think
that's
that
the
was
thing.
happened in the band. People didn't feel like that.
There's been.
Well, I think if
too
it'd
much
been
in the
appropriated
past.
as an event center, it would've been
Uh-huh.
easier taste
Yeah.
than it was for
It-
concerts and.
There were
It
some
had a
mar-
lot of things going
It was a marketing,
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things, just like he said, besides location, people were upset, the chamber's involved, I mean, it just went
Well,
on
they
and
even, people
on.
said, we don't want nobody else coming to Bryant. Traffic's bad enough as it is.
But as I said, everybody likes these guys over here.
Not all the time.
Oh, come on, Jim.
No, Jim's right.
No, is that right?
100%.
Remember, Chief, you said you told your people, you wave at them, and the officers don't wave.
They're starting way back.
Well, he told them he needs to start waving unless somebody gives them the,
I was 4 for 4 today.
Tells them they're
I
not.
waved whole-handed at one today, and he turned around and started.
no, not just doing.
No, that's not.
Close friend.
You know, Dickie
I think if,
Jack,
I think if you get with
Charlie
Joy,
Stacks is coming in.
Yeah.
she can, basically, she can give you some numbers to work.
Oh, yeah.
Based on sales tax collection. You
Not a
can
problem.
back in to how you wanna allocate, we can start to form the walls of what the legislation needs to look like.
Not a problem. I think we'll have plenty of things for you to look at next month.
Good committee.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Who made the motion? Who made the motion? Can you make the motion?
No, I can't. Oh, Jim did.
Jim made the motion, I heard him say it.
You can pick from the whole room on who's second.
Yeah, exactly.
Consensus.
Thank you. I enjoyed this.
I'm glad you were here. Yes, thank you.
I had to fight to get here, but I made it.
You made it.
I didn't know if I was going to, I had to drop my mom off, say, tuck in the rope, just a little.
I do that to my wife.
What'd I do?